right from the beginning. Because I would imagine that if this had to take to the world, we would have books written on how this is, what strategy to follow when your dragons are out on the side, whether your dragons are both on the same side and which side they are on of the king, and where your queen is positioned. I would imagine you would get some structures eventually written in books. General places for your knights to go, what are the plans, where should your pawns go, when are your pawns in fact blocking your dragons in, and when is that okay. So this is round 3. Round 3 of Paradigm Kings 2023, and we are starting this match with IM Minh leading with 2 points against Watu Kobese. Yet to put a score on the board, and they are basically fighting out to see who is the best in the world, Megan. It's like they're having a world championship.
Yeah, I like the fact that it's, just 2 players playing 8 rounds. I think it makes it a lot more interesting.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. And for those that are new, this is Paradigm Chess 30. For those of you that are joining for the first time, Paradigm Chess 30. It is a chess variant where there are 30 different starting positions, but that's not what makes this variant unique. What makes this variant unique is the dragon bishops. So those are the bishops there that you see with the claws and the wings. They are dragon bishops. So what makes them special is not just the wings, but they can actually move like a bishop and a Chinese knight. So that's a horse from Chinese chess. So they can move like a knight, but they cannot jump like a knight. So as we go along with the stream, we'll just point those out where the dragon bishop can and cannot move, especially when it comes to that knight movement. So that's adjacent square should be available, and then you move diagonally. But it's always easier when you see it happening to, in fact, understand the piece, how it moves. Megan, when you played Paradigm Chess 30 for the first time, what did you think about the concept?
I thought that the concept was quite interesting, but I think theory is a lot different to, putting it into practice. So when I played for the first time, I kind of told myself, this is just a normal bishop. I'm just going to do like classical opening moves and just go with it. But then I soon realized that the dragon bishop is so powerful, you actually can't do exactly the same as you would in your normal opening. So definitely strategizing is very important, especially for the first few moves in the game.
And there we have Watu again pressing for that space. He did this in the first, I'm saying few games, because the second and third game that we did have on the board, they did not count because there were disruptions and disconnections and so on, so we didn't see those games through. But in all of those games yesterday that he played, he did push to have that spatial advantage. So again, so yesterday, like I was speaking to him now earlier as well, he would usually be playing f4, f5, f5, f4. And today he's got now c5, c4 on the board. So definitely pressing. This is a crucial game for Watu. It would be quite exciting actually to see what's going to happen in this game, in fact. But yeah, there are always drawbacks when you are being ambitious. So there can be some drawbacks, but we're going to have to see who can capitalize on those drawbacks. Because, so he's got e4 on the board here. So I'm not too sure.
There must be a plan here, because even if d takes e, the c pawn wouldn't be hanging, or maybe
not. That knight would be attacked, so I don't know, is that knight going to go to e5 and maybe applying pressure and staying in the center, and then...
Or maybe knight d2, drop back, and then you're attacking this and the e4, so just breaking that strong central structure.
Yeah. And I think it's essential that he does that because, there you've got it, knight d2, because otherwise you just get strangled if you don't do anything to break down that center in the beginning. You kind of just get strangled, and I saw that from yesterday's games as well.
Yeah.
So definitely the most dynamic opening we've seen so far in terms of no locking the position. A lot of the other games they were locking the position and just maneuvering around in that. But today there's a lot more freedom in the play. I think with that E4 was essential, because otherwise I think Watu would have been in his element.
Yeah.
Too much in his
Ah,
element.
yeah, I'm now thinking of dragon d6 because it protects both pawns. But I don't think Wat is after saving the pawns. I think he's positioning his pieces.
Yeah, so that's also another thing. It's like, when you're playing Gambit, you give up pawns for dynamic piece play. This variant already introduces dynamic piece play. So a lot of the time I see players giving up with 2 pawns, for dynamism. So it will be interesting to see what happens here, because he gave up that pawn just to break the structure. But was that good enough? Let's find out. So he's got that dragon beyond d6, like you mentioned. Is Minh going to develop this knight maybe to e3?
Knight. Yeah.
Or maybe just push c3, also attacking that pawn in the center.
I don't know, all of a sudden White's position looks slightly cramped. Or maybe just takes it slow, Bishop, dragon e2 castle. I don't know if that's too slow for White, but I don't know, White seems a bit cramped now.
No, of course it will be cramped. He's got a pawn in the center. In the heart of the center, Black has that pawn over there. So that's, I'm curious to see what the follow-up would be for White. Because of course if you're going to give up the pawn in the center there, you're going to hope for a lot of dynamic play, and then maybe there's a this plan that we're not quite grasping at the moment. Quite creative, these guys. So I suppose he wants to do that so he can win the c pawn on the next move, or the next 2 moves. So because now he can't essentially play b5 after that pawn is attacked. So perhaps for White the next move could be knight to e3. After Black's response, and of course what is Black going to do?
And the time control is 15 minutes, 30-second increments, or how does it work?
10-second increments, so 15 minutes and 10-second increments. Which I think is just enough to get that heart racing. But like I did say, Minh is like 2,600, 2,700 bullet rating. So I don't know what the time is to be to actually get his heart racing. I don't see. His composure seems like a rock solid, ice cold. Yeah, so we've got knight e3 there. So I think White is successful in what he's been wanting to do. Just basically not giving White to the center. And I suppose that e4 pawn will become a target eventually. And what's also important to remember for those of you that are watching for the first time, that the dragon bishop is worth 6 points. So there's no piece on the board that is equal to another piece. So the knights and the bishops don't both equal 3 anymore. The dragon bishops in fact equal to 6 points. They are a combination of a bishop and a Chinese knight. So what you're just developing there as a normal chess, and wanting to castle the king. So here, for those of you that want to know how the dragon bishop moves, that dragon bishop on e7 can now go to c6 because it can move like a knight. And there are no pieces in the way, but it cannot go to d5 because of the pawn on e6 that he cannot jump over. So it's always important to remember the adjacent square needs to be vacant, and then you'll move diagonally from there. So we do have c3 on the board, again hitting the central pawn. And I suppose he doesn't have to take on c4 immediately. White doesn't have to do that immediately. He can still even decide how he wants to do it. think in the previous game, there was a lot of tension, but then it was released at some point. I would like it to be a build up of tension and then like an explosion, not just a release. So I'm hoping we get some of those kind of games.
Yeah, I think with the Dragon Bishops, I think excitement will always be there. I think you really get like those close defensive positions. So yeah, let's see what they come up with.
But I like that it's still very real in terms of the chess that's being played. It's not almost fictional in the sense that it's just way too aggressive or not aggressive enough, or the piece is just way too powerful, there's not enough space on the board for it, which is what the founders actually found when they combined the bishop and the knight, and it was just way too intense to have a bishop move exactly like a knight as well. And that's why they incorporated the Chinese knight, because then there was a little bit more intricacy to the move as well. Okay, so it takes to the dragon. It seems that, I've seen this in the previous games as well, that Ming seems to be initiating the dragon exchanges. So, I don't know, is he not as comfortable with the dragons? Or do you think he's just restricted of one dragon set?
I don't know, I think like in the first few tournaments that were hosted, I noticed a lot of players just like, exchanging the dragons, and I think it's just to get to that familiar position of classical chess. So I assume this is IM Ming's first tournament, maybe that easy strategy.
Yeah, but he's like one of the best in the world at Paradigm Chess 30. But I suppose, yes, you're right, this is his first tournament that he's playing. He is, not being in the scene of a tournament per se. But Watu has, and Watu's asking questions over here. Watu's always asking questions. So he's developed, he's brought his queen out. And usually that bishop looking at the h2 is something to be concerned about. But generally players wouldn't give up the dragon bishop for a rook. But of course making it difficult for Ming to then castle. Because now even if dragon takes dragon, that dragon takes back, and you still have your dragon on that diagonal, and white's other dragon is kind of still sleeping around. In fact, where would you put that dragon that's on b2 at the moment?
I don't know, I would say okay, this seems a bit strange, but like a2 and then try and get it out there, because I don't see how you're going to get past that e4 blocker. Or you can keep diagonal and just keep the pressure, but I don't see anything.
Yeah, so again, you're attacking the queen, so that dragon is now attacking the dragon, and the queen on c7. Again, you can just move the queen away if you doesn't want to take that dragon.
Or you can just play b6.
You can just, b6 also stops that threat. So I do think that white is giving black a little bit of extra tempo over here. But I don't know that that dragon move really did much to change anything or improve anything on white's side. Unless he is wanting to then go the dragon bishop to a2 and then maybe put it on c4. That would also be quite interesting. Okay, the knight is going there. So the knight lands there. Oh wow, so the knight also lands on e5, which is also on quite a sweet position. Just landing in the middle of the center.
Okay, now you need to play dragon takes dragon. Where else are you going to put the dragon?
It's a dragon trapped almost. I think you can go to f4, I suppose. Is that the only square? No, you can go to b7 as well. I suppose you can go many squares because it's a move like a knight, not just a bishop. There's many squares you can go to. So yeah, I think the knights, and that's also another thing there goes to a4. With these dragon bishops, there were some players concerned, because now the dragon bishop or the bishop initially is going to be so strong. What about the knight? The knight actually also becomes stronger because when it has an outpost, and the only other piece that can take him out is another knight. So I would say the knight becomes stronger in the sense that the dragon bishop is not going to take him when he is on an outpost. Yeah, so now that pawn on b6 is pinned. Because if he takes that pawn on a5, and then the queen will fly. So he's just basically attacking the pinned piece on b6. So that's just one of the many dragon tactics we do have. There are so many new tactics that are introduced with this variant. This is one of them. The pawn on b6 is pinned because as soon as it moves, that square becomes vacant and the queen is up for grabs. And although that was putting pressure on the pin, I think if he had to move his knight into the center possibly, that would have been a better move at the time, because then that knight wouldn't be able to go to c6 and then you know, just allowing black that freedom. If it was me playing as white, I would have gone knight to e5 instead of a5. I don't know, Megan, what do you think?
Now I was I was eyeing a5 the minute black b6.
Yeah.
That just because of the pin. I don't even know if there's a follow after that. So I was focusing more on the queen side than the center. But I think maybe your idea of knight e5 could have been better. You know, just kind of restricting black's options of development.
Yeah, but I suppose even if knight c6 could still come, because that dragon bishop on e7 is still defending the knight on c6. And I think that's why dragon f4 was such a nice move, because then white was not able to back up that knight in the center with his knight that is currently on e3. I do, however, think that white needs to get this dragon bishop out. That's sleeping here on b2.
But where to put it? Are we still thinking? No, I don't think the A file for the dragon is a good idea anymore. So
what I do find is, you know, when I'm developing my own dragon bishops, when I put it on the side where there's already a lot of pieces, sometimes it feels a little bit clustered. It's like it doesn't have enough breathing room. So yeah. I would imagine, I don't know, like going to c2 and then eventually getting the queen out of that pin, moving the knight away, and somehow getting in there, maybe to e3. But again, that's a lot of moves, and I think he's used a lot of, not time on the clock, or well, not time on the clock now as well, because he's at 5 minutes and Watu is at 8 minutes. Sorry?
What do you think of the idea? Queen c2, dragon d2.
Ah, that's cool.
And then just, I don't know, moving the knight away, just to exchange that f4 dragon, because that is quite one of black's most powerful pieces at the moment.
No, I think that's really a good idea. Yeah, sometimes you overlook that, eh? Just moving the piece away and the dragon can move to a totally different square. I think also this pawn in the center on e4, although it could become a target, or we thought it would, it's actually becoming quite a thorn in white's game.
a6.
Yeah, I'm not too sure.
a6. Yeah, I'm not too sure either.
But then again, we are not IMs. I'm not an IM. UWIM getting there, so I mean,
okay.
You know, we don't always understand these subtleties, but yeah,
yeah,
they exist.
Yeah, please do ask the question though for IM mean after the game. Why not just pawn takes pawn? Or why a6?
Yeah, but I think your idea of that queen to c2 was quite a nice one. But let's see what's happening here. So he's centralizing his rooks as well at a half open file. Maybe he wants to bring his knight in there as well. Knight to d5.
Knight d5. That could definitely work.
I think knight to d5.
Okay, dragon c2.
Oh, so he's pushed now on e5. So they are playing a little bit quicker now with their time elapsing. Dragon D70 now has under 4 minutes and Watu has just under 8 minutes. Yeah, I would have definitely gotten out of this pin that this dragon is putting onto the knife. Just because when things open up, you want to be able to play with all your pieces. Like, at the moment, you know, that knight is stuck. And if you're going to move that queen away, you're going to have to go to something like e1.
Yeah, that's not comfortable. Not too bad though in this. No, yeah, that's not comfortable.
Although I think if you do go queen b1 to get out of that pin, you're also putting pressure on the diagonal, hitting at h7, which is essentially what black is doing to white, not allowing him to castle because of that h2 pawn that is under fire when that queen and that bishop is, you know, looking at that side. At the moment, I think that the dragon on b5 is also a little misplaced.
Yeah, I'll bring that back a bit, yes.
So he pushes. So I'm not sure I understand this move quite intensely, I suppose, because that knight is pinned. Oh, but I suppose when you take the pawn and then the queen is under attack. But there's so many pieces attacking this pawn. Am I missing something?
Yeah, I think we need to go through our tactics again just to understand a few moves, because I'm also trying to analyze the reason behind.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if you see a follow-up and then you're like, oh, I understand that move.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I feel like the moves are being made a little loosely, so I'm not able to follow quite well.
So if knight takes pawn, knight takes d5.
Yeah. No, so if the knight takes in, doesn't the pawn hang on? Yeah, that pawn
It's e4.
So I think that's what. Yeah,
but then.
But I mean, if you have taken with dragon as well, no, you wouldn't because okay, but I see.
And now do you play knight takes knight?
The central knight takes the knight takes pin, and then knight takes knight as well. Because remember that knight is also. I think this is freeing up the game, but for white. I think that was a nice push over there. We kind of just missed the pawn on a4 would be hanging. Yeah, so they've got to play like in between moves here as well. Because now that dragon's awake, but it seems a little bit tricky because this knight is just pinned all the time. But now you do have, if the queen goes to b1, and then you do have that diagonal that's open now on the king that's on g8 because he plays f5. But I would definitely say black is the one that's more going for it over here.
Definitely.
Yeah, and there's Watu with that space. He's always just pushing as much as he can there in the center.
Yeah, you know, I think white should just try to exchange a pair of dragon bishops just to, like, you know, alleviate a bit of pressure. So I would go dragon on b5 to a3.
So yeah, that would be interesting. I think just like you say, the pressure and just I suppose the coordination with the pieces. I don't think they
Yeah.
yeah, you know, but you know, if it was a normal bishop and a bishop had to go to a3 over here, you'd kind of almost force the exchange of bishops. But over there in that position, the dragon could in fact move out of the way, and it's not likely that a dragon would take the rook because that is 5 points and the dragon is 6 points. But also, when you are so uncomfortable with your dragon, you never know what exchanges the players might go for. So I think it's just finding some way. So over here we are looking at the king, like I mentioned with that f5, the king is on that diagonal, but immediately Watu gets out of the way, even before anything could be threatened. He's just like, let me get out of the way. This is dangerous. What if I forget about it? So Megan, someone in the chat mentioned that they would play for chocolate for a World Championship match. What besides money would you play a World Championship match for?
An online Shein voucher.
Oh wow, yeah. I should have seen that one coming.
Yeah, no.
Like the fashion
online shopping.
news.
Yeah, online shopping is a hobby of mine. So if that was up for grabs, I would definitely be present for a tournament.
I feel like that was like, if I was watching this, I think that was a prepared question because you answered it so quick. It's like, you don't think like Shein, please Shein, that's it.
Yeah, no. Shein is definitely a passion of mine. But what would you play for?
I was gonna go sushi, but I mean, like now sushi doesn't sound as like exciting as your online vouchers.
You can order sushi while you're practicing for the tournament.
Yeah. So yeah, I see the queen has finally gotten out of the queen. I think he is slowly kind of like getting out of those uncomfortable patches. But I think each move that he's making is like just trying to slowly get back into the game, trying to find a plan. Because I'm not sure if there is a plan as yet for White. I feel like he's just trying to basically get out of this sort of crampedness that he finds himself in.
Yeah, I think Black just needs to act fast and keep the pressure, then he should be fine. But I definitely in this position, not by far, but I just prefer Black, just because his pieces are more active, his king is fairly safe, so I don't know, I prefer Black in this case.
No, definitely, and what I've seen in the other games as well, so the one that's kind of like, on the attack, you've kind of got to be accurate, and because if you miss those decisive moments, they slip because your opponent, although it's making slower moves and not so accurate, is slowly but surely coming back, and then tables turn so quickly. Because you're not essentially going to see anybody blundering any pieces. So it's also difficult to know from a strategic point of view, unless you've played many paradigm games, how to kind of navigate your way through these positions. And so I was thinking it would be interesting to have engines for this reason, because at the moment the engines analyze everything for us, but that's from one standard position. I think engine for paradigm chess 30 would you have to do that for 30 different positions, so you can never like out-prepare your opponent. You can look at different positions, but maybe different ideas that would be interesting.
Yeah, and in addition to like an engine for this variant, I think maybe in the next 10 years, just looking back, and then we have an opening book all of a sudden.
Yeah, I feel like the pace that this world goes at, I think it would be less than 10 years that we would have these opening books for. But I think that's a fantastic idea, just to have these players from these early days, I suppose, just to like write down their thoughts, like what they are thinking when they are starting a game, and just work out those opening strategies. And even if we can get like a generic strategy on how to play these games. Because you know, when you got chess 960 as well, you have like general ideas of what you want for your pieces, where you want them to go, no matter what the position looks like. It would be interesting if we could get something like that going for Paradigm Chess City.
Definitely, but like speaking of like generic moves for all the positions, this game has been around for a few years, so it is fairly new, but there has been ongoing tournaments. What do you think is the most like natural way to go? Do you think it's dependent on the position? But would you say, like in chess, knights before bishops, or would you keep your dragon to the back till the opening is done? Basically, like what do you think is the general pattern for Paradigm Chess 30?
So players are obviously still going for the center. They're still playing e4. They're still playing g4. Some of them are playing, I mentioned with Justin, I'm like, what about f4? And he laughed at me. So I mean, like, some of them are also looking at f4. Depending on the players, can still develop your knights first. But it's interesting because you're developing those central pawns, but it depends on where those dragon bishops are standing. Because sometimes they could be attacking the center and you play moves like a4 because the dragon bishop is on g1, just aiming for the center. Or so yeah, I definitely think the central what you call it, the idea of playing for the center stands. And then you want to find the best like opportunities for your dragon bishops as well. If you bring them out too early, they're going to be attacked. But yeah, I see most players bringing out their knights. But I must say they play aggressively with their pawn structures, because the one who's got the most space will have the most space for the dragon bishop, and that's what I've seen as a trend.
Yeah, one of the trends I've also noticed is just like positioning your dragon bishops on like an A2,
Whoa, what happened?